It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. And now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And good morning, and welcome to the John Fredericks Radio Network all across the United States of America. We are, of course, in 20 radio stations in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Georgia, Tennessee, West Virginia, and, of course, all around the country on the app. You can reach me on X, formerly Twitter, Michael P. Leahy. Also, you can watch us live on YouTube, and I think you can see us, the clips can come on Rumble. Go to YouTube, type in the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. You can see us live and in color. Well, we have a terrific show for you today. In fact, let's get right to the morning rundown for Thursday, October 24th, 2024, brought to you by The Glock Store. Here we go. Number one, 12 days until the election, 5 days until Stephen K. Bannon is released from prison on trumped-up contempt of Congress charges. Yeah, he's being held there illegally, has been held illegally since Saturday. I think some members of Congress may be weighing in on that later today. Number two, another disastrous day yesterday for Kamala Harris, the vice president and Democrat nominee, anointed one, selected one for president. First, she did a 3-minute, quote, press conference at the vice president's residence where she took no questions and called Trump Hitler multiple times, called him Hitler and the fascists. Then she did a word salad town hall that even CNN said was awful. We've got some lowlights from that one. Number three, Tom Pappert, our lead political reporter, joined us at the bottom of the hour for reaction to Harris's claims that Donald Trump is, you just forgot to note that he's really Hitler. Not going over very well. Number four, Tennessee State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson joins us in the second hour, talk about the Supreme Court review of the Tennessee No Minor Transgender Surgery Law. That's a good law, and I think that the Supreme Court will back us up on that, probably 6-3, maybe 5-4. Number five, in our third hour, Rachel Alexander will have a first-hand report of Donald Trump Jr.'s visit to Arizona. Number six, Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti's lawsuit stopped the dumping of illegal aliens who were in a camp in Louisiana into Tennessee. By the way, if you saw this, turns out there was a Chinese migrant with a rare case of tuberculosis at that Louisiana center, and he apparently has been released in the United States. They don't know where, they don't know how, they don't know why. Yeah, that's very encouraging. Number seven, this is interesting. We're going to have a change of pace in our second hour from politics, which is in what we mostly do here, right? Politics from a America First perspective. We're going to talk about, wait for it, philosophy with Reinhard Mueller, who is the executive director of Nashville-based the Hodges Philosophical Orientation Foundation. What's that about? Well, stick around. It'll be a delightful change of pace. So there you go. That is the morning rundown for Thursday, October 24th, 2024. That morning rundown is brought to you every day at this time by The Glock Store. My good friend Lenny McGill, the founder and CEO of Glock Store. Yes, he did indeed get his start literally as a singing waiter. But now he is the CEO and founder of the Glock Store, glockstore.com. It's based right here in Nashville. That's where the retail showroom is. That's where I learned to shoot a gun and bought my Glock 17. But if you don't live in Nashville, don't worry, because glockstore.com is available to everyone in the United States on the internet. Now, when I was talking with Lenny, they have a service, and he told me their most popular service is something called the 10-day red dot optic cut. So that allows you to mount almost any red dot optic directly to your Glock. Now, that's very important, obviously. Red dot optics really make a difference. And the way it works is, and Lenny showed me this. Basically, people send in their Glock, they order the 10-day red dot optic cut, and basically they do the cut there and they get it back to you in 10 days. Lenny told me they don't normally do discounts on it, but I said, come on, man. Help me out here. No, I was not doing my impression of Joe Biden there. But he said, look, it's so popular, they've already done over 11,000 slides, and they're 11,000 and 0 in terms of delivering within that 10-day window. Now, haven't missed it yet. But I really wanted to get the discount, so he told me I could offer 20% off to my listeners, but only for a limited time. So I told you he's a good friend. To get one of the largest discounts the Glock store has ever offered on this service and may never offer again, go to glockstore.com, put the 10-day red dot optic cut only service into your cart, and use the promo code MPL20. MPL20. That's 20% off the 10-day red dot optic cut only service, and only when you use the promo code MPL20. All right, I promised some clips. Yeah, we're going to have to play these. I know you don't want to hear them because they're so insane, but okay, here we go. This is the news of the day. Clip one, this is Kamala Harris in her 3-minute press conference that wasn't a press conference, where she probably violated the Hatch Act by delivering a political screed and attack outside the residence, her official residence as vice president, with all of the vice presidential insignias around. Here we go, clip one.
Vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
And earlier she basically compared him to Hitler, called him a fascist. Okay. How she took no questions. How well do you think that's going to go? I don't think it's going to go very well. I want to go back to some more clips here. Let's go to that question, clip 11. Clip 11. At this town hall, Anderson Cooper said, no, you really don't think. Do you really think Donald Trump is a fascist? Here we go.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. So that's called doubling down on Donald Trump is a fascist. Now, actually, what I would have done, said, well, what's your definition of fascism? She would not have been able to deliver that, but okay. Now, then somebody asked a question about groceries. Clip 13. How are we going to stop increased grocery prices? Watch this, and you'll just go ahead. Clip 13. I think we have clip 13, yeah.
The question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years. Yeah. And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct, and what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging.
Okay, so she's going to price. There's like very little profit in grocery stores. She's going to price prosecute him for that? I don't think so. Back after this.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of The Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Well, we are going to continue. I know it's hard to listen to this stuff, and it's hard to take this person seriously, but we've got to do it because the election's 12 days away, and you have a job to do. If you've not voted, you need to go vote today. Vote early, wherever you are, in whatever state you are. Vote for Donald Trump, right? If we want to save our constitutional republic, that's what we need to do. If you have already voted, call 3 friends. Ask them, have you voted yet for Donald Trump? No? Well, let me take you to the polls. We've got to run through the tape. And one of the reasons we have to run through the tape is because we have a very ignorant and stupid person, an empty vessel, an empty Marxist vessel, I suppose would be a better way to describe her, in Kamala Harris, and who's sort of the puppet that the deep state is putting forward now. And just listen to some of her answers last night at the CNN town hall. It is, let's start with clip 16. This kid asked a very good question about, well, what are you going to do with all these migrants that you've been allowing to come into the country, that you've been shipping into, little towns in America, ruining them. Ruined Springfield, Ohio. Springfield had 50,000. I think they dumped in 20,000 Haitians in the past couple of years there. Ruining the schools there. Charleroi, Pennsylvania, ruining it. Logansport, Indiana, ruin it. This is part of a devious and evil plan to destroy small communities in middle America and destroy the country. Kamala Harris is behind it. So this kid asked her a question. Well, what are you going to do to stop that? And listen to her non-answer. Clip 16.
Regarding the rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with, and how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies? And if so, how much money will be allocated?
Well, thank you, Jackson. Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken, and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time.
Non-answer, but keep rolling. I mean, I can't bear it.
Part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices that voters have. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
Okay, who cares?
In the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in, and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And as my opponent has proven himself, he would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem.
Okay. No answer. A non-answer. Obviously, 10, 20 million illegals have been allowed into the country the past 3.5 years. They're flying them in. They are flying them in, not doing any vetting, and they're dropping him into American communities. Not working well. Okay, so what else does she want to do? Well, she wants to pack the Supreme Court. Clip 17.
Would you be in favor of expanding the court to, say, 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. And in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. So I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like.
We can study what that actually looks like, right? So she answered the question. There are 9 Supreme Court justices right now. There have been attempts to pack the court for ideological purposes in the past. They failed. Of course, it failed famously under FDR. They want to put, 12 is a stupid number. Yeah, you need an odd number, right? But 9 is about the right, 9 is the right number. Beyond that, it becomes, it becomes too much of a crowded mess. Now, David Axelrod was on CNN, and David Axelrod is the guy, one of the guys who helped turn Barack Obama from a obscure state senator in Illinois into the president of the United States. He's a smart guy. He had this analysis on CNN after this word salad town hall from Kamala Harris last night. Clip 18.
The things that would concern me is when she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city, and she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking. And so, you know, on certain questions like that, on immigration, I thought she missed an opportunity because she would acknowledge no concerns about any of the administration's policies. And that's a mistake. Sometimes you have to concede things, and she didn't concede much. But I'll tell you something. John King mentioned Bill Clinton. No one's going to be Bill Clinton, but you do want to relate to the people in front of you. She didn't do a lot of that. She didn't ask them questions. She didn't address them particularly. So she was giving set pieces too much.
We got 12 more days of this, folks. If you want to make sure that it never happens again, that we don't have to listen to that word salad Marxist baloney coming out of the mouth of Kamala Harris, vice president, presidential nominee. Look, I know it's sort of, 12 more days. Oh, I don't know if I can put up with it. You got to do it. You have to vote. If you haven't voted, vote now. Vote today. Stop what you're doing. Go out and vote for Donald Trump. And if you have voted, you got to make sure that your friends and family, everybody, even people that you might think, I don't know how to vote. Some of them might surprise you. So you got to do your job. We got to run through the tape on this one. All right. We have another example of Kamala Harris saying stupid things, but I repeat myself. Here's clip 12. She claims Donald Trump hates the Constitution. Really? Here we go, clip 12.
Is a legitimate fear based on Donald Trump's words and actions that he will not obey an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. He himself has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States and wants to earn your vote to stand again behind the seal of the President of the United States? No one standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America should be in that position saying they want to terminate the Constitution of the United States.
He never said that. Okay. I mean, lie. It gets repetitively boring and irritating to listen to all that, right? But that's what she has right now. By the way, they're also they're going for the October surprise. They shopped this story about a 1993 claim from a model who's now, 1993, that'd be like 31 years ago. She's now like 56, 57. She claimed, wait for it, back in 1993, Donald Trump groped her. She can't remember exactly where, actually, exactly when, but she knows the time of year. It was in the fall. Now, she's been silent. He's run for president like 2 other times. Didn't make that claim then, either time. But now all of a sudden, with Kamala down in the polls, and with, in essence, all of the market saying if nothing crazy happens, it looks like Donald Trump is going to win, asterisk, run through the tape. Now, all of a sudden, she brings up this memory. No one in American media is running with this. No one, because it's just not credible. She had to go to the communist rag in the United Kingdom called The Guardian to go with this story. And, they're running with it. It's, look, 12 days, there will be a phony scandal every day that they're going to put out. Nah, not going to work. Not going to work. All right, when we come back, our lead reporter, Tom Pappert, joins us with the reaction to Kamala Harris calling Trump Hitler. Not good for her. Back after this.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are joined on our Zoom newsmaker line right now by our lead political reporter with the Star News Network and the Tennessee Star, the great Tom Pappard. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Well, so Tom, yesterday we were just minding our own business. And then Kamala Harris, it was announced, was going to do a press conference. And a couple things seemed a little weird about that press conference. How many questions were asked by the press at that press conference and answered by Kamala Harris? Yes,
zero.
Zero. That would be a big zero. I don't know. Is that how they do press conferences these days, Tom?
Well, it's how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do press conferences. But generally, no. There is a question and answer section of the press conference, generally speaking.
The other thing weird about that, it lasted 3 minutes. Apparently, it was it at her residence, the Naval Observatory, the official residence of the vice president? I think it was, right? And
yes, it was. And I that was the most peculiar part, because if it were a Republican, of course, Trump was accused of politicizing the White House numerous times, and it was held over his head and used against him in the liberal media. But Kamala Harris can call her opponent a fascist from essentially the vice president's White House, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, there was the flag, the vice president's official signia. It's clearly, I think, a complaint's already been filed that's a violation of the Hatch Act, which prohibits the use of, bureaucrats can't engage in political operations, or at least they can't use the trappings of their office. But she did. And but it struck me, this was not a very joyful Kamala Harris. I mean, she said, Trump is a fascist, and he's really Hitler, and he wants to be a dictator. And her evidence was a statement, unsubstantiated, made by a disgruntled former chief of staff, former General John Kelly, to the largely discredited Bob Woodward in his latest book that is, unsourced. I don't know. That seems to me to be not particularly credible. Your thoughts, Tom Pappard?
Not only is it not particularly credible, I mean, these are, at the very least, 4-year-old unsubstantiated allegations, but really, the left and people who dislike Donald Trump have been calling him a fascist since at least 2015. So these allegations are almost 10 years old, but really, John Kelly first came out against Trump during the 2020 election in a bid to help President Joe Biden win, get him over the edge. So it seems pathetic almost that the so-called October surprise from 4 years ago is being rehashed as though it's breaking news by a woman who is floundering and flailing in the polls.
Where's the joy? That wasn't a very joyful announcement.
The joy is gone, Michael.
The joy is gone. Now, so here we were minding our own business, and so there she comes, and she makes this ridiculous statement, doesn't take any questions, probably a violation of the Hatch Act, calls Trump a fascist and Hitler. By the way, before I get to this, do you think she could give you the definition of fascism?
No, and that was an excellent point in your last segment. Somebody should ask her for a definition, because if you look at which party is largely in favor of a blend in state power and private sector businesses, it's certainly not the right. It's the Democrats.
Yeah, it's in essence authoritarian dictatorial rule by government and large corporations acting in concert to benefit the larger corporations and the elite who run the government. That was the fascism of Mussolini, for instance. That's really the kind of behavior that you're seeing and have seen from the Biden-Harris administration.
It is without question. I mean, they are the party that if a rational person, maybe an alien, came down from outer space and was given a list of human government types, they would say, oh, so the Democrats are the fascist party in the United States. That makes sense to me now. Yeah. But we've seen this, I mean, for years from the left. They accuse us of what they are doing. So Kamala Harris comes out and says Donald Trump wants to make the military loyal to him and force them to violate the Constitution. Donald Trump wants to lock his political opponents in jail and throw away the key. Donald Trump wants to reduce our political discourse to a bunch of insults and petty grievances. These are Democratic strategies that have worked very well for them. And only now that it seems that the tables are turning do they claim, no, it's actually the Republicans who have been doing that for the past 10 years and not us.
When last I looked, Peter Navarro, former advisor and aide to Donald Trump, is the one who spent 4 months in prison on these trumped-up contempt of Congress charges. And our very good friend Steve Bannon right now is still in prison on, again, trumped up contempt of Congress charges. He should have been released on Saturday, but the Bureau of Prisons violating that law, violating that rule, and he's still in prison. He's not going to be released until Tuesday. I think it's the Democrats that are imprisoning their political opponents.
I completely agree, and it's from the top down to the bottom. I just read, it was either yesterday or earlier this week, they are still arresting people who attended January 6th. This is the last election. They're still arresting the political opponents who protested because they didn't think they won fair and square. It's absurd. And it's the actions of, I believe, an increasingly desperate left. And I think that's really why Kamala Harris came out with this Nazi jargon that she did yesterday. I think they're out of talking points. They've lost every single issue. Yes, they've lost every single issue to the former president, and now all they have are mean names.
Now, and false claims. So we saw that, and I called you up and I said, Tom, we just can't let this go. We've got to get a response. And we said, now, who would be the best person at a national level to call her out and ask and demand that she apologize for this? And we thought, the best guy would be Vivek Ramaswamy. You were able to get an exclusive interview, an exclusive statement from Vivek, like within, half an hour.
Yes, and I must say Vivek is one of the best communicators we've got right now, and his team is just top notch. And Vivek very intelligently came out and said this is comparing Trump to Hitler, Vivek said, is not only insane, it's irresponsible given the near tragedies we've seen in recent months, referencing the 1, 2, maybe 3 assassination attempts on the former president and saying that Kamala Harris and her rhetoric is directly responsible. He said, our country is already skating on thin ice. We can't afford to fan the flames of political violence just 13 days before an election. This was yesterday. This is un-American, said Ramaswamy, and I'm calling on Kamala Harris to correct her mistake by apologizing immediately. Now, I'm not so sure Kamala Harris is going to apologize, but I think this is the right line. I think she should be called to apologize. She should be made out to be the absurd one here, the one who is acting inappropriately, not anybody on the right.
Yeah, and Tom, I think we were the first ones to get a high-profile Republican to call her out and demand an apology within hours after Vivek's statement was out. You have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., any number of comments, in essence saying, look, what you said, Kamala Harris, is a dog whistle for political assassins. And I think that's true. But then she goes on, this was crazy. She goes on this town hall and, she's asked by Cooper Anderson, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist? She says yes. Well, the next thing she says, we've got to stop this political partisanship. I mean, look in the mirror. What was your reaction to that, Tom Pappert?
Laughter, the same as I'm holding back laughter now. Look, Kamala Harris likes to repeatedly say, we're going to turn the page. It makes no sense because she's in the office. But in reality, on November 5th, we are going to turn the page. I think we're going to be done with the Democratic politics of division. We're done with Kamala Harris telling half the country they're the worst people on earth, but by the way, you have to vote for me or you're an even worse person. We're going to turn the page on all of this absurdity that they've been able to run using their allies in the media, and we're going to get a real country again. That's what I think we're really going to turn the page on.
Now, here's another interesting development about, first, the message is Donald Trump, orange man, bad, so fascist, so, he's a fan of Hitler. Okay, all bogus. The other message is, we've got this scandal that 35 years ago he did something bad, and it's all bogus. That's their only messaging, and which is not good. Trump, on the other hand, you ask him a question about anything, he'll answer in detail. And the aspect to talk about here is the venues now the next 12 days. A very big venue is the podcaster Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan, I don't think he's necessarily a big fan of Donald Trump. Kind of a libertarian. People listen to Joe. He's apparently, and I've seen clips of Joe Rogan. I haven't listened to a full podcast. Extraordinarily successful. Spotify's paying him like $100 million, which is like, really, congratulations, Joe. Donald Trump is going to be down in Austin, Texas, on Joe Rogan's podcast. What do we expect from that? What do you think is going to happen in that?
I think that Joe Rogan is fundamentally, he kind of views himself as a modern day Johnny Carson. He's not somebody who is going to look at this interview as an opportunity to get the former president. But at the same time, you just mentioned how financially successful Joe has been. I think Joe Rogan wants to preserve that. And I think that is honestly the reason why he has waited so long to interview Trump. Now it is essentially politically correct to interview the former president. He's been interviewed by the Nelk Boys and every other podcaster, Theo Vaughn. If you're a young guy, you know these names. And so now Joe Rogan, I think, feels comfortable doing it. So I do think that it's a bit sad that he didn't have the courage to interview Trump earlier, but I think it's going to fundamentally be a phenomenal, fun conversation. I think we're going to see a different side of the former president, and I don't think it's going to be confrontational at all. And by the way, I think Joe Rogan would have given pretty same style of interview to Kamala Harris, but are that she's not interested.
Well, he typically does like a full 3-hour interview, right? It's going to be taped tomorrow in Austin, Texas, but I think it's going to air later that day. How many minutes could Kamala Harris last in such a venue?
The shortest I've seen him do is an hour. I have a feeling we might see an hour with President Trump. But with Kamala Harris, the longest interview we've seen her do with no commercial breaks, and you cut out all of the network talking heads, about 22 minutes. So I think she would have had to leave the room with Joe Rogan between the 22 and half hour mark.
Yeah, the problem with Kamala Harris is the follow-up question, right? Because answer this question about how are you going to cover the migrants? And she'll give you a 7-minute response that's not responsive to that question. And so when there's a follow-up question, she just will fall apart. Tom Pappert, thanks so much for your reporting, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you, Michael. Anytime.
We'll be back with more after this.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul-off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back. Well, we've had a discussion of the angry and joyless Kamala Harris. Let's turn the page, how about, in this segment, and let's talk about fun. And that's the Donald Trump campaign, which is full of joy and happiness. And Sean Farash is the Trump impersonator you just heard on that D.T. McCall's ad. He's from Long Island. He moved to Spring Hill, Tennessee, a couple years ago, right, the same city in which I reside. And I've not met Sean, but he's really funny. I got to play this. He talked about Donald. He was impersonating Donald Trump at McDonald's and talking about it. Here we go, clip 19.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it, and they're loving me. I'm honored to have been elected McDonald's Employee of the Year. What a tremendous honor. And the fake news is saying the only reason I won is because of Russia, Russia, Russia. What a bunch of horrible people. Such a disgrace. On day one at McDonald's, I fixed the ice cream machine. Nobody ever thought that was possible, but I did it. I fixed the ice cream machine, and on day one as your president, I'm going to fix our great country. We will have a great country once again. I just found out that I'm being indicted again. They say I put too much salt on the French fries, too much salt, and they say that I had a 15-minute lunch break that took 17 minutes, and that's because the fake news wouldn't let me go. They wanted to know how I was doing, and I was doing so well. Kamala never worked at McDonald's, and the reason we know that is because they wouldn't let her do her job interview with a teleprompter. She said, that's not going to work. We need the teleprompter, and it didn't work out. I did so well at McDonald's, they named a new meal after me. It's called the McWin, and it comes in small, medium, and MAGA-sized, and we're going to have a MAGA-sized McWin on November 5th, so get out and vote, and let's...
Okay, it's fun. It's fun. That is not Donald Trump. Okay, that's Sean Farash, who is a very, very good. I like the way he does that. He's got the phrasing, the intonation down, and the pacing. He's the best so far that I can tell. So, and we're going to try to get him on the show here next week. All right, more fun, more positivity. We've got a clip. Let's go with clip 8. Donald Trump talking about SpaceX.
And then I'm going to be working with Elon Musk, who endorsed us very powerfully. He's great. All I know is I watched that rocket come down. I never saw that. I thought I was watching a movie or something, a space-age movie. I watched that rocket. I was on the phone with a very important person that everybody in this room will know. I got to be careful with using his name. I like to be nice and careful. You know that. And then I decide, am I better off being careful or really entertaining people? And I usually decide on the side of entertainment, and then I have fun.
Okay, so we're having fun. Tucker Carlson, that was at the Duluth, Georgia Trump rally. I believe our very own E.J. Haast was at that rally. She'll be with us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We'll get a report from her on that. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson was there at the same rally. Here we have Tucker, clip 7.
So here we are at an enormous Donald Trump rally less than 2 weeks before the presidential election. I'm following Bobby Kennedy Jr., and somewhere in a half-empty Union Hall in a cold state is Dick Cheney's creepy little daughter campaigning with Kamala Harris. And I have to say, that is a thrilling trade as far as I'm concerned. I never thought I would live to see the day when Bobby Kennedy would be one of the most beloved figures in a room full of Republicans, and Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and his criminal daughter would be Democrats. It's just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, again, the joy is the joy is on our side. I just love that. I mean, everything is terrific in terms of the momentum with Donald Trump, and we didn't even get to. There was so much good stuff from Donald Trump at that big rally in Duluth, Georgia last night. We did not even get to Tulsi Gabbard, who was there. We did not even get to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was there. I don't think J.D. was there. So J.D. Vance has been out campaigning, I think, in some of the other battleground states. But it doesn't matter, right? Because the point is, this is what I love about this. This is kind of a restoration, a refoundation of American principles. And, I've talked about this before. We have the refounding fathers here. And you could say, Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tucker Carlson, Tulsi Gabbard, and, of course, the modern George Washington, Donald J. Trump. And he was in fine form last night at that huge rally in Duluth, Georgia. I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow when he goes to Joe Rogan. That's going to be fun, and we'll have that. Hey, when we come back, we are going to do a palate cleanser. We're going to be talking about, wait for it, philosophy. What? Yes, indeed. It will be riveting. Back after this.